I understand the political, logistical, and provincial arguments that will be used to dilute the discussion, but the clock is ticking toward a day of reckoning, and we need to make some tough decisions sooner rather than later.
One of the things that I think he does emphasize is that education is still key here.
Okay.
I mean, the city is still recognizing that education is a key part of our success.
Mm-hmm.
He's also, I think, even though there's been a lot made of shared services, but I think what he's trying to really say is that we have to come together
mm-hmm.
as a community and quit fighting the boundaries of each other and figure out where we have common ground, and where we can have common ground we can come together, serve the people better, so that we can give really better service to our community, or different services that we can give to our community, and really at lesser cost. And I think that's what we're all looking for, is how we can serve our community much better than we've ever had.
Okay. And what about you, Clyde? What are your thoughts?
Well, I echo those thoughts, but at the same time, we noticed that there was some emphasis put on doing things differently. And I think those things came out of the speech, where he put forth ideas on some things that we could do differently. Well, what Bill was talking about was more of, combined services. That specifically is speaking to the county and the city. But then there's other things that we could do internally as far as structure and restructuring. We keep talking about the restructuring plan, what that will look like, what could that do for the city. That's one thing that we've talked about, but we haven't implemented it. And so I think that's something that's kind of important for us to look at this time with the current budget challenges.
Well, as we're going into a transition in terms of appointing the new city manager, I think that part of that time was to be spent in having either someone or some organization or internally look at the operation of the city in terms of how it can perhaps become more efficient or more effective in the delivery of services, whether it's within city departments such as economic development, or whether to contract out with someone else. So there appears to be a process of change that's maybe heading our way for the coming year and hopefully for the future. Either of you have any comments regarding how the city now operates and where there might be some changes made internally, as well as joining with, whether it's the county or working closer with the school board or whatever? Do you have any thoughts?
Well, and I think we are headed for some change, whether we like it or not, whether the council has control over it or doesn't have control over it. The changes that we're going to see are going to be changes that really is economic changes that we have to go through. If we our slimmer economic development department, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be developing economically. We should look at what we can do inside the city to expand our economics much better. I mean, one of the things that I look at is one of our economic engines, and yet is probably not looked at very with a lot of thought, is how can we increase the enrollment at Bradley? And if we can increase the enrollment at Bradley, we've now emphasized education and how important education is to us, but also by the enrollment growing up means that those dollars that are from outside the community come into our community. So we really have to be on our toes and start thinking a little more broad on how we as a board can deliver services and yet still keep the economic engine of this community growing strong.
I agree. Yes.
And then at the same time, develop ways that we can create jobs. Of course, we talk about economic development, but when you look in our toolbox that we have currently with the Economic Development Department, there's only a few things that we actually can do. So the City of Peoria loses new opportunity, which means jobs. So, in the coming months, hopefully we can continue to find ways to actually expand that toolbox and have more things to use to be able to create more jobs. Because I know specifically in my district, that's one of the things that's needed most, that we need jobs. You hear it over and over again. Some even say the solution to some of the problems is actually the creation of jobs. So, we continue to think that specifically in the Economic Development Department, if we can expand that toolbox and have more things to offer businesses. Maybe not so much offer, just change the way we, put that forward so that we can have the end result of having an increase in jobs. I think that does well in helping us to balance the budget because it helps us to build our tax base.